All right. Welcome to this Crystallize live stream. My name is Bård, and today I have with me Ben Marks from Reactant. He is a digital transformation consultant and have been working with organizations such as Bacardi Martini and the Coca-Cola company. Today we are going to talk about how you can automate product enrichment, but have human in the loop. And welcome, Ben. First of all, and maybe you can help kind of describe the problem, as we say here.
Yeah, hi Bård, great to be back. So the problem that we're looking at here is how can we scale our content operations using the constraints of the resources we have? And in our last podcast, we were talking about building a business case, and this was one of the problems we looked at. And one of the use cases for that was thinking about how we can use GenAI. So the problem might be, for example, we get our data out of ERP. We want to enrich that for the digital shelf. We have a lot of data and we have a finite amount of resources. So how can we use GenAI to go faster with the resources that we have?
Right. And should we maybe I can share my screen and we can dive a little bit into, because specifically what we're talking about here is that we find a lot of organizations to say maybe they have their data in the ERP, maybe they load it up in a spreadsheet. I'm sure everybody knows that every large enterprise is built on spreadsheets, which is true. So you have the data, it's structured, but it might be incomplete compared to what we're actually looking to have before we want to publish it in our online product catalog or digital shelves, or however you want to do that, right? And what we were thinking here is we can use Crystallize as an example here, because here we have a spreadsheet of, you guessed it, guitars. And what we can do here with this this process is basically we can drop this spreadsheet into Crystallize, and what happens here is some validation is done, right? So we define what is a valid kind of minimum viable set of product data. So we need to have the images, the price. Short description is not required in this case. We'll get back to that. Some relations that to other products that you also want to verify. Brand with a relation, color, material, etc. SEO, you typically don't have that data in an ERP, so this is missing. And also something about categorization, or where this product should be placed in your catalog. So what we can do as an example, I just take these Fender products and we'll continue to next step here. And this is where prompt engineering comes in, Ben, or this is where you need to take care.
Yeah, so in this example, we're using a general large language model. It's been trained on a generalized data set. Some of that data set might know a little bit about your brands, but in order to get an output from that system that's consistent with the quality that you're expecting, we need to give it some guidelines to work with. So typically here, you might want to give some context, give the idea that you're working on a catalog for the digital shelf. You want to set a task. So the task here is to complete that missing product information. You want to explain the identity of the brand. What kind of persona does the brand have? How does it speak? How should it feel? And then you have some content rules. So typically in organizations, you'd have some guidelines around building content for particular data fields. These might be data fields on your own owned platforms. They might be data fields that come from your retailer or customer partners. You have some insights as to how to best structure those. And then you have some rules around the content for your brand. So capitalizing proprietary terms that you use, not putting certain words together. And this is a way that you can enhance just a general model off the shelf with your own brand rules. And it's a great way of taking a problem and demonstrating the value of using GenAI without making a significant investment. You're not having to go out and train a model from scratch. You're not having to set up the infrastructure. You can just plug in whichever is your favorite system. I think in this example, we're using Claude. It could be OpenAI. You put that prompt in, and then you generate that against the data set where you want to complete the information.
Right. So what I did, I took that prompt, sent to the AI enrichment input field here, and now we're waiting for Claude to finish. It's done. And this step also is kind of crucial, right? Here we have today's innovation. Maybe we want to make a change here. So today's players, for example. Basically, I improved on the AI suggestions, change the word. But here we have the human in the middle, as you say, where we basically can review all of the suggestions for the generated content from Claude. And in this case, we did some modifications, and then we want to be able to apply the suggestions. In this case, just to show kind of the round trip, we have here in Crystallize, let me refresh, no products. And what we can do here then is to choose to run these operations. So this is kind of a mechanism in Crystallize to perform mass imports that allows you to run a bunch of operations in a very efficient way. And essentially, what we have here now is we have a couple of products. We had some guitars, and then we also had some acoustic guitar. So they're all classified in the right location. And what we also decided to do as an example is kind of the second step for human in the middle, where you now have here the generated content you have with my small modification that we did. We have the imported content. We have validation errors. This is intended because you typically want to level up your content to a certain minimum standard before you want to load it up into your e-commerce or PIM service. And then you want to enrich it. In this case, it's a solid body and it's a C-shape guitar. Then you can also add, this is 22 frets and weighs about 3 kilos. And then when you're happy, you can essentially publish. And you see that it's set the proper relations with the brand. It's set the related items as we had in our data, and also generated the SEO data here for our product. So that's essentially the quick round trip in terms of having your product data in a structured data source. We're showing a spreadsheet. It could just as well be a JSON file or an API, which it often is, but it's a very visual demo with spreadsheets. And again, to repeat, a lot of organizations use that as their backbone. So that's kind of the happy path for this. But what else would you say could be a next step, or let's say an addition to our process? And hint is on the screen.
Yeah. So we've performed the process of generating missing product information in the ETL phase, right? So we extracted from the ERP. We're transforming that by enhancing it with GenAI, filling in those gaps, and we're loading it into Crystallize. And I think that's fine. As you mentioned, a lot of organizations work with spreadsheets. That's a good place for that to happen. You can also extend the GenAI functionality directly in your PIM system as well. And so you could perform the process of filling in that missing data within the PIM using your GenAI service. And that opens the opportunity for performing other possibilities, such as, for example, you have on the screen, we could do auditing. So we could audit all of our product data, including what we generate, as a second step. And then we could look for the integrity of the content according to our brand guidelines, our brand identity. We could do spelling, punctuation, and grammar checks, very simple checks on the content, but it's important to give the consumers confidence with the content that they're looking at. And then, some technical logic and consistency as well. So make sure that we're doing some of the validation checks, the length, the structure, the accuracy of the data. So auditing is one example. We're working in the English language at the moment, but perhaps you have different language market combinations. So another use case could be to transform that content into a different language and then perform your checks in the system. And you might also want to optimize the content for a particular channel. So if you're working across different customer and consumer touch points where the content should be optimized to better perform in your category, for example, or it should be transformed to be shorter, instead of longer descriptions. You could use AI by feeding in what are the requirements for each of my destinations, hitting the generate button, and then have that transform the content into the requirements. And my final thought with these use cases as well is there's a lot of emerging regulation concerning the use of AI. So having that final human in the loop check is really important. You want to have the governance to make sure that you're generating not just high quality content that adheres to your brand and protects your reputation. We also want to make sure that you're able to categorize the content you make with AI as well. As some of that emerging regulation will later specify, if content is made with AI, we have to inform the consumer to have that transparency. So that's a really important part as well.
Yeah, and it's to me, we see this being adopted more and more by our customers, and it's kind of different processes. But to me, in summary, it's for the ETL step. So when you're loading the initial import of data, that you do some sort of enrichment and or auditing, and then you would maybe do some manual enhancement, like we did now, just some classification or some human touch. And then, of course, as you say, you could also audit all of your existing product data, maybe before you add, let's say you're going to add another market. You're going to translate all of your content. You want to verify that the source data is at a certain quality level, right? So it's I think the point here is that you can inject it at several steps of this content curation process and creation, and it will be different for different organizations. And I think it's important to find a model that basically gives value for your organization. I guess that's the clue here. And at least today we wanted to run through a pretty straightforward example, but it's very much day-to-day of what we see our clients are working with today, and hopefully there's some takeaways for you guys after seeing this. For information, this app here is a Crystallize app. It's open source, so you can check it out. If you would like to discuss further, I see I get the sun now. That's brilliant. Feel free to join our Slack community. You'll find like-minded people there to discuss with. If you want to watch our next stream, next Thursday, we will do one also focusing on AI. We'll announce that early next week. Follow and like if you want to get notification. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.